Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Drone Source. Today with me is Cameron Chell, President and CEO of Draganfly. Cameron has been a technology entrepreneur for more than 30 years and has spent his career growing a diverse collection of high potential ideas into revolutionary companies that have changed the way we experience the world. Cameron takes a hands-on leadership role in projects, infusing innovation and adoption with the operational principles of clarity, alignment, and measurement into the culture of every team he works with. Hi, Cameron.
Hey, Ben, how are you? Thanks for having me on your show.
Very good. Thanks for coming on board. How are you doing?
Really well, thanks.
Great. Can you please tell me a little bit about Draganfly?
Well, thanks, Ben. You're often referred to as the oldest commercial drone manufacturer in the world. So Draganfly, started making drones in 1998, sold its first commercial drone in 1999, really focused on public safety. It sells and services into, pretty much every industry out there, but public safety, Sheriff's Department, Homeland Security, U.S. Marshals, Border Patrol, search and rescue really are its, kind of its ethos. And there's just a ton of smart, passionate people there. And I'm lucky enough to be a part of the management team. But it's there's amazing people that really are driving this thing.
In July, earlier this year, you and I were both on Don Zoldai's Full Crew podcast, and a large part of the conversation revolved around what drones were doing in Ukraine. All right. Obviously, there's a lot of work being done by drones. There's a lot of videos of militarized drones, and there's a lot of talk about the Iranian drones. I was wondering if you'd be able to maybe give us your perspective on the drone use in Ukraine.
Yeah, the use of drones in Ukraine is probably the most important event in the drone industry, certainly since the advent of the drone industry, in terms of pure adoption. Nothing since the insertion of the tank in World War I has probably been more impactful in terms of almost immediate tactics and budgets that are now shifting. In theater, data is most important, right? And most data comes from the air, whether it's satellite or reconnaissance or those types of things. And air dominance is generally the thing that determines if a particular side or objective is going to be successful. And air dominance has hit up until this last year has been dominated by big budgets, big platforms, big satellite systems, big UAV systems, $10-20 million Reapers and Predators, manned aircraft, coordinated communications, really only very few nations or actors out there could afford to have air dominance. And what we've seen in Ukraine is that from 10,000 feet down, air dominance is open to anybody, because whether it's pointy drones that can hurt and destroy, or whether it's communications or surveillance or coordination or all of it, that can be done with anything from a $600 drone, up to $35,000 or $40,000 drones, or even $2 million drones, which are incredibly inexpensive compared to the platforms that were there. What has been absolutely proven out now is that air dominance from 10,000 feet down is actually more effective with a multitude of drones that are less expensive, decentralized, communicating back to central command, but decentralized right down to the unit level, right down to battalions, right down to patrols, right? Some DODs are now looking at every patrol, maybe even every soldier having a drone, but for sure, every company having a drone. So just like, you'd have, certain, they'd have machine gunners or they have whatever, but now they've got drone operators, right? And so air dominance, like air capability, is now being integrated into an army unit, right? So the whole command, and information structure is being effective. Like the impacts are massive. So we see budgets very quickly now starting to move to small drone or UAS systems. And the most important of which of those, in my opinion, are still, surveillance, reconnaissance, logistics. So moving of equipment or munitions, or whatever that what we're most passionate about is delivery of blood on the battlefield, humanitarian type, all of those types of things are more passionate to us than the pointy stuff. The pointy stuff still tends to move towards the larger, more expensive systems, but we see them even moving, obviously the dropping of grenades or using of 40 millimeter launchers off drones or whatever the case is. But really the surveillance, communication, the data, all of those types of things from small drone systems is now what is becoming dominant in air dominance, which is the impact is, billions and billions of dollars of budget, but also, totally different strategies and tactics now that are being applied into theater. So it absolutely fascinating time to be in the drone space.
You mentioned in your final sentences, you mentioned what we are doing in Ukraine, what Draganfly is doing. So I would love to hear about the actual work being done by Draganfly. You mentioned blood supplies and you mentioned reconnaissance. Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, so we work with an organization in Texas, one of our channel partners, Cold Chain Technologies, and we're standing up a emergency management services utilizing drones as first responders. So 911 call comes in, first thing that happens is trucks roll and drones fly, right? Drones show up on site, anywhere from 7 to 12 to 15 minutes earlier than the trucks get there, boots on the ground. They're providing, traffic information, injury information, situational awareness, alerting if there's false alarm. 20% of all calls are false alarms, so trucks are turned around, better utilization. We also have a medical response drone that actually can act secondarily to bring in, temperature controlled, pharmaceuticals, blood, insulin, EpiPens, those types of quicker than the second ambulance could get there if you need a new type of blood or a different type of blood or those types of, which is not uncommon, right? In Texas, they've got 1 pint of blood for every, I think it's 216 miles, that they have to cover off. So being able to have air capability to get that in there quicker, 7 to 15 minutes faster than a second ambulance coming in is a big deal. Now the reason I bring all that up is we had some press around that, and an NGO out of Ukraine, a US-based NGO that was working with injured soldiers in Ukraine, contacted us and said, hey, we're doing a lot of work. They had bought like 30 ambulances or something like that, and they were using those ambulances to get supplies into besieged cities, remote areas, people who had been cut off, and they couldn't get the ambulances through. They were either being, shot at, confiscated, whatever the case, or they just couldn't get through. And so they had a notion to be able to use our medical response drone, which can fly in 35 pounds of temperature sensitive equipment, and insulin was a big requirement. How did they get it in there? So literally from 10 plus kilometers away, actually up to 20 kilometers away, the idea we can fly drones in, and so we provided an initial 3 drones as a donation to them, which also acted as a test, and then consequently they put orders in for a number of drones. I think we've got 18 in theater right now that they're operating. It's a totally unique drone to Draganfly. It would be top mounted payload, so the drone can land and people can grab stuff, or as we learned, it can come in and within about 3 seconds drop a load from 4 feet high and get the heck out of there, which were some hard lessons that we learned. And then people can recover those supplies, when it's safe or when they feel comfortable or whatever the case is. Because, when a drone's up in the air, nobody, in that situation knows if it's friendly or not, or what the purpose is and such. So you don't really want it hanging around. So that was the initial use case that we put in there, and we've learned a ton from doing that in terms of the type of communications equipment, jamming equipment, techniques, tactics, protection of pilots, all of those types of things, which has been just fascinating. And then in addition to that, we've put reconnaissance drones into play, initially for search and rescue missions. So as you have search and rescue folks going in and using search and rescue drones that have thermals and other sensors on them, you would then have reconnaissance or situational awareness drones circling. And these are typically a VTOL drone circling, so that just to keep a perimeter of a few kilometers around and say, hey, what's happening? Do we need to evacuate the area? Is it getting too dangerous? Is it what's going on out there? And so that was the primary missions that we moved into, and so we've continued to do that and sell and provide equipment in. And now that's led to us actually using our mine detection equipment and sensors and developing out a product and solution for that. And so we're actively in testing and have sold some equipment in to do that. And we think we're on the verge of likely having hopefully the most effective mine detection solution out there. So which is a multi-billion-dollar market with incredible ROI for, because if we can speed up the detection of those mines and determine, where mines aren't, it saves so much time for those precious demining crews, to either get back to help people get relocated or to clear mines for, the defense forces.
You recently published press release mentions that Draganfly has just sent 30 reconnaissance drones to Ukraine. Now, in the previous question, you discussed mainly the logistical side of drones. How does the operation of drones differ as far as logistics and reconnaissance? How does it come into play?
Yeah, so we're in terms of reconnaissance, surveillance, situational awareness. That's it's all the things that those suggest, right? So those operators are looking for information. There might be humanitarian information. It might be civilian information. It might be information around troop movements, whether it's combatant or friendly. All of those types of things. So I mean, and that would differ from logistics, or at least how we've been experiencing it, where the increased and pervasive movement to be able to use drones, for delivery in theater, right, or in those really difficult situations. Again, whether that's delivering food, humanitarian, or potentially, munitions or critical components or parts. The drones that really for very, very inexpensive costs can be carrying anywhere from, and can easily be moved by an individual, can be carrying anywhere from 30 to 70 pounds worth of, product or equipment or supplies or those types of things. And now you can move things quickly rather than sending a 2 or 3 man crew to move stuff around, which might be in danger. Now you're sending a drone, and it might be 500 meters, or it might be 25 kilometers. And so now the ability to manage or think about what can happen regarding logistics, and those drones at the same time can be the same drones that can be doing surveillance. Every time a drone goes up, there's information that's collected. Nothing collects information better than a drone. I mean, just the various of sensors, so they become so multi-purpose focused. But we are seeing logistics as becoming more and more of something that people on the ground are thinking about utilizing drones. So back in North America, I kind of say in a kidding way, it's like, how do we get a pizza box, Pizza Hut box somewhere? Like, talk about a luxury problem and inconsequential, really, when you think, how can we get insulin in somewhere, or how can we get food supplies or stores or water or emergency bandage kits or pharmaceuticals into an emergency situation from either a unit or civilians that might be cut off. Like that's the real impact that's also changing the face of what's happening.
Well, we can definitely say that Ukraine shows us that necessity, as always, is the mother of invention. So my final question, and a question I ask all my guests to finish off the podcast, is I would love to hear your vision of the drone industry 2, 5, 10 years from now. What does it look like?
Yeah, I think the drone industry 5 years from now will be on the verge of being pervasive, and 10 years from now will absolutely be pervasive. One of the biggest issues in terms of the adoption and use of drones is, a lot of people my age have watched, too many, Terminator movies. And so, we kind of have this notion of what a drone is, just kind of like, the generation before us or me, I'm older than you. So, the e-commerce will never happen. There's no way I'm putting my credit card online. And, I grew up and it's like, well, why wouldn't you put your credit card online? Like, that's crazy not to, and I think, 10 years from now, it's, kids won't have that notion or fear of drones. It's just like, hey, that's just a normal thing. It's just a piece of technology. And so whether it's, the noise of it or the impression of it or those types of things, and I think that's a really big cultural piece that we just have to work through. And in the meantime, the industrial and unfortunately military applications will be so prevalent that those will be the proving grounds that establish, a more pervasive commercial use. But we're working on projects today, for some fantastic companies where drones are being used indoors as part of gaming environments, part of learning environments, part of disability management environments. We're going to see drones more and more move into personal interaction, personal drones, use of AI, helping manage and reduce workforces that are in danger or workforces that are monotonous or 10 maybe 15 years from now, a world without drones is going to be like a world without a smartphone. It just will be like because it's going to be so integrated into the information we collect, the tasks that it holds, the expectations that we have, that it just won't it'll just be like no, it's like no drone is like no smartphone or no power grid. You've got to have it. And certainly my hope and Draganfly's ethos is that we want to, necessity is the invention is what drives the invention, as you mentioned. And right now a lot of that is happening because of unfortunate situations. And so we really want to try to be a part of getting that necessity pushed and used into things that save lives, save time, save money, right, and improve the quality of our total environment, whether it's reducing carbon footprints or whether it's increasing quality of life for people in remote areas or reducing worker risk. And so that's our vision of the drone industry, and we know it's shared by a lot of people. And it's in my opinion, it's inevitable. It's just absolutely inevitable. So.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I want to thank you for joining me today on the podcast. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you. It's you have such a great show, and I know you have a great following and a ton of fans out there. And I know within the industry, we're very appreciative of the work that you do.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank everyone for listening in today. Catch us on the next episode of Drone Source. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, man.